Ellen DeGeneres built her image on warmth, smiles, kindness, daytime comfort. But that image into something colder. Epstein file rumors, coded phrases like pizza, grape soda, jerky, and uneasy celebrity moments, and old clips that feel wrong when you watch them twice. Most people hear that and call it internet noise. I didn't, because I worked backstage, and I saw what she was like when the audience was gone. She was cruel to men, especially when her wife was kind to them, and the ones she singled out never seemed to last long. I found things I still wish I hadn't seen. And when I tell you she was a man-eater, I don't mean it as gossip. I mean it the way a locked room goes quiet when you realize you were never invited there as a guest. I used to work on a daytime talk show where kindness was part of the set design. It was built into everything. The pastel mugs, the soft music before taping, the little signs backstage reminding us to smile because the audience could feel energy. Even the host's voice carried that same practiced warmth. People trusted the second they heard it. Ellen DeGeneres knew exactly when to laugh, exactly when to lean forward and act concerned, exactly when to put a hand over her chest like somebody's pain had reached her personally. On camera, she was a comfort. Backstage, she was something else. Nobody said it out loud at first. You learned it the way new people learn all studio rules, by watching what made everybody go quiet. If Ellen walked into the control hall, conversation stopped. If she passed a male staffer in the makeup corridor, he straightened up without meaning to. If she looked at you and smiled too long, you checked your shirt, your badge, your face, trying to figure out what you'd done wrong. I was a junior production assistant, low enough that nobody noticed me unless they needed something carried, printed, or fixed. That was fine with me. I liked being invisible. I liked knowing where the spare batteries were, which interns cried in the stairwell, which producer lied and said, "Quick favor," when they meant an hour of extra work. I liked the rhythm of the place. Then I started noticing the men, not all at once, just patterns. A stage manager I worked with for months stopped showing up. HR said he'd taken another job. His headset was still hanging on the hook behind stage 2 days later. Then a camera operator I used to eat lunch with left for family reasons. His car sat in the far lot for a week before somebody moved it. Then one of the audio guys, older, quiet, always wore black polos, was gone after a Friday taping. By Monday morning, his name was already off the schedule. People disappeared fast there, too fast. Whenever it happened, the same thing followed. Tight smiles, short answers. Don't worry about it. Show moves quick. That's just TV. But there was one thing I couldn't ignore. Her wife was kind, not fake kind, real kind. She remembered names. She asked people if their parents were doing better. She thanked crew members directly instead of saying it through producers. Once, when I was hauling a box of cue cards that split open in the hallway, she crouched down in nice clothes and helped me stack them before anyone else moved. It took maybe 10 seconds, long enough for me to make a stupid joke about how I was personally trying to sabotage daytime television one index card at a time. She laughed. Not polite laughter either, a real one. Quick, surprised, loud enough that it bounced off the hallway walls. "You're funny," she said, handing me the last stack. "You should be on payroll for morale." I smiled, a little embarrassed, and told her I'd settle for surviving the week. She laughed again, and that was when I felt it. The temperature in the hallway changed. I looked up. Ellen DeGeneres was standing near the corner, watching us. She was smiling, but only with her mouth. Her eyes looked flat, almost bored, like she'd walked in halfway through a scene she already understood. Portia stood and brushed off her hands, still smiling from the joke. "I didn't know you had such funny people working for you," Portia said lightly. Ellen's eyes stayed on me. Then she smiled a little wider. "I know who's funny," she said. I can smell talent from a mile away. Everybody laughed. Portia laughed because it sounded playful. I laughed because everyone else did. Ellen didn't. Not really. She just kept looking at me for 1 second too long, like she'd marked something down and filed it away. Then she touched Portia's arm, turned her gently toward the stage, and the two of them walked off together, like nothing had happened. I stayed in that hallway, holding a bent stack of cue cards, smiling after the moment was already over. That was the first time I understood something was wrong, because the joke should have made me feel lucky. Instead, I felt noticed. And at that show, being noticed by Ellen DeGeneres was never a good thing. Taping days always ended the same way, which is probably why I didn't understand I was in danger until it was too late. The audience would clear out in waves, still laughing at things that felt flatter once the lights went down. Monitors in the hallway replayed little clips while crew members broke down the set like a traveling circus packing up before sunrise. Someone rolled wardrobe racks past me. A janitor pushed a gray bin full of paper cups. 2 interns were arguing over who lost a battery pack. Normal noise, normal night. I was tired, hungry, and ready to go home. I was halfway to the back stairwell when one of the segment producers flagged me down and handed me a folded note. "Can you drop this at Ellen's office?" he asked, already looking past me. "Tonight, not tomorrow." I took it without thinking. That was the job. Carry this, print that, drop this off. Don't ask questions unless they save someone time. I cut through the side corridor behind stage 2, where the sound changed. The farther you got from the set, the more the building sounded like itself. Vents humming, distant wheels rattling over concrete, muffled voices in rooms with half-shut doors. Somewhere down the hall, a monitor still had the show feed up. I could hear faint audience laughter bleeding through tiny speakers, delayed and tinny, like ghosts clapping from another floor. Ellen's office door was cracked open. That stopped me for a second. It was late enough that most doors were shut. Assistants had gone home. The hallway lights were dimmed. I knocked once with my knuckles and pushed the door gently. "Hey, just dropping off a note." No answer. The office was lit by a desk lamp and the glow of a computer screen. It looked exactly like her on-camera image translated into furniture. Clean lines, soft colors, framed photos, daytime awards arranged just casually enough to look accidental. But up close, it felt too perfect. The desk was almost bare, pens lined up straight, coasters centered, a glass of water with no fingerprint on it. There was a sweet smell in the room too. Perfume, probably, but old, settled into the fabric. Under that was a low mechanical hum, maybe a mini fridge or vent tucked behind the cabinets. I stepped in, set the note near the keyboard, and should have left. Then I looked at the screen. An email thread was open. No subject line I could see, just a chain of messages with short replies, all clipped and practical. I wasn't trying to snoop, not at first. My eyes just caught on one word: pizza. Then another: grape soda. I froze. I leaned closer before I could stop myself. The messages didn't read like jokes. They read like logistics, times, initials instead of names. Downstairs, mentioned twice. Prep, mentioned 3 times. One line talked about kitchen access. Another asked if the cold storage had been checked. And then one sentence near the middle sat there on the screen like it had been waiting for me. Keep the downstairs cold. Seat confirmed. I read it again. My mouth went dry. A sound clicked in the hallway. Heels. Slow. Even. Coming closer. I backed away from the desk so fast my hip bumped the side credenza. The lamp shook. I grabbed the note again without meaning to, crumpling it in my fist. For one stupid second I thought I could still walk out. Just move fast, head down, say, "Sorry, didn't know you were back." Then the heel clicks got closer, and a shadow slid across the strip of light under the door. I stopped breathing. There was no clean way out anymore. I dropped low and moved behind a tall storage cabinet near the wall, wedging myself between it and a coat stand. The space was barely wide enough. My knee jammed against metal. Dust hit the back of my throat. The room smelled different down there. Paper, old wood polish, stale perfume trapped in fabric. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I nearly made a sound. I clamped my hand over it and fumbled for the side button, heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my neck. The screen went dark. I stayed crouched, one hand on my pocket, the other crushing the note into a damp little knot. The door opened. Ellen walked in slowly. No hurry, no surprise. Just those measured steps and the soft click of the door easing shut behind her. Not all the way, just enough. Silence stretched. I could see the edge of her shoes from where I was hiding. White sole, clean. She stood still for a few seconds, and all I could think about was the hallway earlier. Portia laughing, Ellen smiling with her mouth and not her eyes. Then Ellen moved. One step, two. I heard a soft inhale, not dramatic, just deliberate, like someone testing the air in a room. She passed near the desk. The keyboard clicked once. I stared at the floor and prayed she wouldn't come farther. The heels stopped, right in front of the cabinet. I could hear her breathing now, calm, almost bored. I saw the tip of one shoe turn slightly toward me. A pause, long enough for my whole body to lock up. Then Ellen said quietly, almost amused, "Not tonight." She waited one more second, then stepped back. The heels clicked away. The door opened, closed. I stayed there long after she left, crouched in dust with my leg cramping and my hand still over my pocket. When I finally stood, my shirt was stuck to my back. The email window on her monitor was gone. Desktop screen, clean. Nothing open. I stared at it, then looked down at the note in my hand like I'd never seen it before. My fingers were shaking so bad I couldn't flatten it out. In the hallway, everything looked the same. That was the worst part. A cart rolled by. Someone laughed around a corner. A producer at the far end glanced at me, then looked away too quickly. I couldn't make myself go back in. I set the note on a side table outside another office and kept walking, trying not to run. By the time I hit the stairwell, I wasn't tired anymore. I was in it, whatever it was, and Ellen knew I'd seen enough to matter. The next morning, the studio looked exactly the same. Bright, clean, cheerful. The kind of place that makes you question your own memory. Pastel mugs stacked by the coffee station. Soft music testing through the speakers. Audience coordinators smiling too hard while they checked clipboards. Under the fluorescent lights, everything looked harmless. I felt sick anyway. I moved through the halls trying to act normal, but I kept scanning faces without meaning to. Camera crew, audio, stagehands, security. I was counting the men now. Not on purpose. My brain just did it. I told myself the same thing over and over. Keep your head down, get through the day, don't be alone with her. By mid-morning, I cut through the wardrobe corridor to avoid the main hall. It was tight back there, all garment bags and rolling racks, with barely enough room to pass if someone stopped in front of you. She stepped out like she'd been waiting. Ellen DeGeneres smiled and blocked the path without making it look like she was blocking it. "What are you wearing?" she asked, almost teasing. I forced a laugh that didn't sound like mine. Detergent, I guess." Her eyes stayed on me. Then she leaned in, close enough that her shoulder almost touched my chest. Close enough for me to catch the clean, citrus smell of her perfume under the wardrobe steam and fabric dust. She breathed in near my collar. Once. Then again, slower. "That smell," she said quietly. "I know that." Her fingers brushed my sleeve, barely there. Then, low enough that no one else could hear it, she tilted her head and smiled. Delicious. Same head tilt. Same smile. Then she walked away toward the stage like nothing had happened. The whiplash hit me a second later. Theme music swelled from the studio. A PA started calling countdowns. Audience applause rolled down the hall. People rushed past me carrying makeup kits and cue cards, moving fast, talking loud, doing their jobs. Nobody reacted. Nobody even looked at me. I stood there for a second too long, then forced myself to move. I ended up near one of the side production stations, still trying to steady my breathing, when I noticed a chair sitting empty. jacket draped over the back, a phone plugged into a charger, a badge lanyard left on the console. Everything looked mid-shift, like somebody had stepped away for coffee and never came back. I asked where he was. The producer beside the station didn't look up from her notes. "He's not in." I waited. Then I asked when he'd be back. That got me the same answer everyone always gave, delivered in the same dead tone. "He won't be coming back. HR handled it." I nodded like that meant something and walked away. At the end of the corridor, I pulled out my phone and called him anyway. It rang and rang and rang, no answer. I stood there staring at his contact on my screen while the audience cheered for Ellen DeGeneres on the other side of the wall. That's when it finally hit me. The way she smelled my shirt, the way she said delicious, the way men kept disappearing, the way nobody ever asked questions twice. I wasn't just noticing a pattern anymore. I was in it. And for the first time, I couldn't shake the feeling that I might be next to disappear, too. I kept trying to make it smaller in my head. A weird moment, a power move, a boss messing with a junior staffer because she could. But then I'd think about the empty stations, the jackets left behind, the phones still charging, the way everyone used the same phrases like they were reading from a script. So I did what scared people do when they still want to believe they're in a normal world. I tried to be professional. I told a producer I wanted a quick check-in. Nothing dramatic. I said I felt uncomfortable and wanted to clear the air. I made it sound like a workplace thing, something polite, something HR could package and file. Late Friday, after taping, the producer found me near the side monitors and said, "She can see you, 5 minutes." My legs felt hollow walking down the hall. Her office door was already open. When I stepped in, Ellen DeGeneres was seated behind the desk like she'd been expecting me all day. The room was colder than the hallway, cold enough that my skin prickled. The low hum was there again, steady and mechanical from somewhere behind the cabinets. The sweet smell hit me first, then something smoky underneath it. And beneath that, a metallic note I couldn't place but instantly hated. She was eating from a small silver tray. Thin strips of dark jerky sat folded over each other like ribbons. I started to speak, and she lifted one finger. "Close the door," she said. "You're letting the smell out." I turned and shut it. When I faced her again, she was smiling. I gave the little speech I'd practiced in my car, how I appreciated the opportunity, how I wanted to be respectful, how I'd felt uncomfortable lately and thought it was best to address it directly. She listened for maybe 3 seconds. Then she picked up a strip of jerky and held it out toward me. "Try some." I blinked. "I'm okay. Best meat you'll ever taste." Her teeth flashed when she smiled, and I saw dark bits caught between them. For a second, it made her teeth look blackened at the edges. I looked away and tried again. "I just wanted to say, the hallway stuff earlier this week." "How's your schedule?" she asked, chewing. "You settling in okay?" The shift was so clean it made my stomach turn. Her tone softened. Boss voice, daytime voice. Like this was a normal check-in and I was overreacting. "You've been doing good work," she said. Then she nudged the silver tray closer across the desk. "Go on. It's tender." I didn't sit down. I didn't touch the tray. "Things have felt off," I said, hearing my own voice shake. "And the way you talk to me in wardrobe, people get dramatic when they're nervous," Ellen said gently. She chewed, smiled. "Eat something." I just stared at her. "This," she said, tapping the tray with one fingernail, "is why people stay." Something cold moved through me. I swallowed and said the one thing I'd been trying not to say all week. I said my coworker's name. I asked where he was. Ellen paused, chewed once, twice. Then she looked up at me with that same flat-eyed smile. "Missing is such a lazy word," she said. I couldn't breathe. She leaned back in her chair, calm, patient. "I don't believe they're missing." Her fingers rested lightly on the edge of the silver tray. "They're here with us." The room went smaller around me. The hum got louder. The smell got stronger, sweet and smoky and metallic, crawling into my throat. I couldn't stop looking at her teeth, couldn't stop hearing the soft, wet sound every time she chewed. This wasn't a meeting, this wasn't a complaint, this wasn't something I could report. I took a step backward. I need to go. She stayed seated for one more second, then stood. That was the first time she moved fast. Not sudden, just deliberate enough to make me flinch. She smiled, and her voice dropped into that warm, camera-ready tone. I can't wait to taste a tiny pause. See you next week. I was already at the door. I don't remember the hallway. I don't remember the parking lot. I remember sitting in my car with both hands on the wheel, breathing through my mouth like I might throw up. Then my phone lit up. Unknown number. Monday. Don't be late. I sat there staring at that message until the screen went dark. And for the first time all week, I stopped wondering if I was imagining it. I came in sick to my stomach and tried to act normal. I'd already decided I was done. I just didn't know how to leave without making it worse. An hour before taping, a coordinator found me near the prop shelves and said, "Someone wants to see you privately." My chest tightened. I thought it was her. I walked to a side dressing suite with my heart beating in my throat, already planning what I'd say, already knowing none of it would matter. When I stepped inside, it was Portia. She was alone. No smile this time. She shut the door immediately, then checked the hallway through the crack before turning back to me. "Don't interrupt me," she said, low and fast. "You need to leave." I just stared at her. "Not next week. Today." Her voice dropped even more. "Men don't last long here. I know what goes on. I can't tell you what it is, and you do not want me to try. It's deeper than you think." I asked what happened to my coworker. I said his name. I asked what Ellen was. I asked why nobody ever said anything. Portia's face changed when I said his name, not surprise. Grief. "If I answer you," she said, "you won't make it to your car." Then quieter. "The men who stay too long stop sounding like themselves." She stepped closer. "Go to HR now. Say the hours are affecting your health. Take the severance. Sign what they put in front of you. Do not argue. Do not go back to your desk. Do not say goodbye. Just go." I went. HR was waiting like they'd been expecting me all morning. My paperwork was already printed. My name typed, amount filled in, NDA tabbed and highlighted. When I handed over my badge, the woman at the desk glanced at her screen and said, "It's already been restricted." Nobody asked questions. Nobody looked surprised. 10 minutes later, I was walking through the studio with an envelope in my hand while the audience warm-up started. Music, clapping, lights, smiles, the whole machine moving like it always had. I saw Ellen near the stage entrance, surrounded by people, full public face, gentle voice, perfect posture. She looked right at me, smiled. "Be kind," she said. Everybody around her smiled back like it was a slogan. I walked out without answering, because by then I knew it was a warning. I never went back. And now it's been almost 7 years. When those stories started surfacing, and certain names and coded language began getting talked about in public, something in me locked cold. I'd seen that language before. I'd heard it in passing. I'd seen the same kind of smiling silence around it. That was when I stopped telling myself she was just cruel. I knew she was involved then. Now I know I was never wrong, and I can't unsee it. If this story got under your skin, like and subscribe for more unseen horrors.